You know I love the idea of a Minnesota Vikings trade down, but how far down is too far? Only one way to find out on the Locked On Vikings podcast.
You are Locked On Vikings, your daily Minnesota Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Locked On Vikings podcast, where we're always trying to learn something new. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day every single day. I appreciate my hashtag everydayers so very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Today on the show, we're going to fire up the old mock draft simulator, but I want to answer a specific question. For me, mock drafts are an exercise that should teach you something. You should set out to learn something from them. Long gone are the days of me just kind of like throwing out mock drafts because it's fun to list a bunch of names, which it is, and definitely go have fun with doing that. But for me, I want to try to get a little bit something more out of it. So I am going to fire up the PFF mock draft simulator, enter a draft, and I want to push the envelope really hard for how bad a trade down feels, and like how far down you get before it feels like I'm not getting my guys anymore. I feel like I have a decent enough grasp of the available players in the 20s and 30s where I'm going to know, okay, I've traded past all the guys that I like. That's got to be it. I know I said at the beginning, there's only one way to find out, and that way is a mock draft. But really, you can think this through. You can calculate this if you really want to. Thinking about what trades are out there, what trades are available, who's going to want to trade, and for who, that is an exercise for another day. And I might even rely on the rest of the Locked On Network. I might start messaging people and asking them, what would you want to, how would there be anybody you'd trade up to 24 for? What would it take? That kind of thing. To try to get a sense, even if it's just the network people's opinions, at least it's somebody that's going to be a little bit more plugged in with their team than I am. But for me, I don't want to do this like trade down to 26 with the Rams crap, these little conservative trade downs, or the move that I really like in a first round, which is to trade down a couple of times, like what Rick Spielman did in 2020, right? Traded down a couple picks and traded down a couple more picks and accumulated a lot more that way, which I think can give you that flexibility because you go down a couple picks, you look at the board. Is the guy I like still there? Yes, he is. Let's go down a couple more. Are there still guys that I like? Yes, there are. Until eventually you go, yeah, we're starting to get to the end of the guys that we actually like at this particular moment in the draft. So let's take one. So I'm going to enter the draft here and get this thing going. I'm not going to trade up at all. Trade ups are definitely a more attractive option in other years than this one. There is just nobody that remotely gets me that excited this time. So I'm going to go ahead and just put the kibosh on that entirely. But as soon as this thing sims up to pick 24, we'll see what kind of trade offers are on the market here. There are 6 of them. Oh, that is excellent. The highest is Philadelphia. It's like this thing heard me. Okay. So the highest is the last pick in round 1. I want to go further than that, though. The Jaguars are in pick 36. I want to go into the 40s. Let's see if we can get this pick 46 from the Falcons thing. So I'm talking about that kind of trade down. I really want to go that far and really test. I mean, that might be too far for you, right? You might, whoa. I don't want to go all the way down to 46, but let's see how bad it feels. If we do go to 46, let's see if we are, in fact, out of all the players that we like. For example, right now on the board, guys that I like. Okay, Kenneth Grant is on the board. If this were a real mock draft, I would be slamming that and taking it to the bank so hard, I'd be doing backflips on the way there. Walter Nolan is there. I don't like him as much as a lot of people do, but that's a guy. Savon Revel is there. I think 24 is a little rich for me on him. Derek Harmon is there. Very popular mock draft pick. Xavier Watts, the safety from Notre Dame. Gray Zabel, it has gotten some first round hype, but I don't love it at all. So for me, this is actually a pretty thin board. A lot of my favorite options for the Vikings went way higher than normal. This has been a very weird mock, by the way. Travis Hunter went 7th somehow. Don't worry about it. That's just how these mocks go. Sometimes weird stuff happens. That randomness factor is kind of part of it. Because, hey, sometimes guys that fall that you never, ever would have expected to fall. But We're taking the plunge. I don't care. It's not what I would do, but we're doing the experiment. Okay. I'm taking the plunge. We're going to see what we can do with the Falcons. So we'll take 46. We'll give up 24. And let's see if we can't get 118. Let's see if we can't get 218. Let's see if we can get their entire draft. Okay. We can do better than that. So let's get rid of the back 2 picks. Let's take a first rounder next year. Nope. That's not enough. All right. Second rounder next year and 118. And we can still add more. How about a third rounder next year? How about that? How about a third rounder next year, but we give them back 139? That has a 50% chance to be accepted. Let's try it. And we got it. Okay, so we gave up 24 and 139, and we got 46 and 118 and 2 picks next year. That's pretty good. It's also going to make this mock draft really easy to finish, because I don't have all that many picks remaining. Walter Nolan down. O'Marion Hampton down. That was another interesting idea. Tyler Booker was also there. Kenneth Grant goes. James Pierce was one that I didn't even mention. I'm not a huge fan of his. So, okay, all the guys we loved are totally gone. Tylee Williams is there. All these big DTs are gone. But let's see just what it looks like down here at pick 46. All the guys I loved at 24 are gone. But Savon Revel's still there. I would 100% take that. Landon Jackson, edge out of Arkansas, that would be an interesting one. Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame, if you're not afraid of the injury, is also totally an idea. Xavier Watts is still on the board. Okay, so what I'm finding is, even though it really felt like a lot of names I like were flying off the board, it only takes one to be left. So if I take Savon Revel, who you guys know that I love Savon Revel, we're there. Unfortunately, what this doesn't do is give us this a sense for what the draft would be like if we got more this year picks. Like, I got a bunch of picks next year and then moved up my 4th. In doing so, I gave up essentially the difference between it would have been Kenneth Grant and Savon Revel. Okay, so whatever difference you have there, for me, that difference is significant. It's something, right? I would much rather have Kenneth Grant than Savon Revel, but I like Savon Revel. I'm happy with it. So whatever that difference is for picks to a second and a third next year. I mean, a whole TJ Hawkinson next year. And I moved our 4th rounder up a little bit. Okay, or I'm sorry, our 5th rounder up to the 4th. Okay, that doesn't feel quite like it was worth it, quite like it was exciting. So let's run it back. Let's give it another shot and see just how much we can squeeze out of this thing if we try another simulation. So I'm starting back up from the top. Okay, Travis Hunter went second this time. That's a little bit more normal. This is a much more standard board. Kenneth Grant did not fall all the way to 24. I kind of think that that's a pipe dream if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But a lot of the same names are going to be down. And if you run these sims 100 times, if you look at mocks around the world, you're going to see a lot of the same names available at 24. Derek Harmon's very often going to be available. Savon Revel is going to be available. Walter Nolan is going to be available probably about half the time you look at these. Kelvin Banks is one I talked about yesterday, a possible tackle to move into guard, although I don't think he should move into guard. Malachi Starks is at the top of the board here. Maybe that's the guy you slam. And so we have fewer trade offers this time too. We have one from the Bears and one from the Colts that want to trade 45. So let's do that with the Colts. Let's trade number 45. We've been very happy with trading around with the Colts lately. We can get 80 in there. We can get 117 in there, and it will still very likely be accepted. We can get their entire draft. That feels like it shouldn't be doable. So we're going down way, way, way far. So let's do 80, 117, and we'll throw in a 3rd rounder next year that has a 64% chance to be accepted. That seems a little better. So we still get some next year stuff. Oh, they said no. Wow, playing hardball. Let's throw in a 6th rounder next year. Open it up. There we go. Okay, so we moved a 6th to a 3rd next year. We got 80 and 117, but we fall all the way to 45. So let's see who will still be there this time at 45. And if we can still get the Savon Revel thing, I might just click that again, but now we get a little bit more on day 2. And we can see just how that feels. Okay, he is there, same guy. I could do that. I could also do Donovan Jackson if you want a guard. I could do Benjamin Morrison if you want a corner. Looking at the corners, I do think that we've got quite a few good options that are still coming. So I might chill on that a little bit. I might not take a corner just to take a corner. And instead, Maxwell Hairston is still there. I haven't watched him yet, but that's a guy that gets named a lot. I'm going to go for, I'm going to chill on corner. And instead, I'm going to take Donovan Jackson, Ohio State tackle. He's like a guy that moves into guard. This is going to be your kind of Blake Brandel, real competition right now. Speaking of that, by the way, I forget if I mentioned it on this show or not, but it does seem like Michael Juergens is going to compete with Blake Brandel, and that's like their primary plan at that position, which is a little unserious. So adding a first round or a second round rookie into that makes it feel a lot more serious. Okay. So I got totally screwed on the corner thing. I should have taken a corner. The cornerbacks, there was a huge run on corners in between picks 45 and pick 80. And now I do not like the options nearly as much. There's Quincy Riley. That's Tyler Forness's guy. We did that on a mock draft last time. But I got some thinking to do here. I got to figure out what to do next. Now we're up at pick 80. We've got 80, 97, and 117 and 139. So we got a whole bunch of this mid-round capital. Let's see what we can make out of it. That'll be next on Locked On Vikings. Today's episode of Locked On Vikings is brought to you by Gametime, the best place to find last-minute tickets. All right, whether you're catching a last-minute baseball game or just basking in the excitement of Timberwolves, maybe Timberwolves playoff games, you can find great seats at a great price at Gametime. Makes scoring last-minute tickets easier than ever. So if you are, say, waiting to see if there's going to be another home game for your favorite team in the series, and then you got to grab those tickets right off the bat, check out Gametime. With their all-in pricing, you can see the total cost up front. No hidden fees, no shenanigans, no nothing. You know exactly what you're going to pay, and you can compare that across all the different events you're maybe choosing between. And their last-minute deals can save you up to 60% buying last-minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. With seat views before you buy, you know you can be satisfied with how the thing is actually going to look when you get there. And with a lowest price guarantee and no surprise fees, you can book with total confidence. That lowest price guarantee means you will never worry about overpaying. If you find the same section and row for less somewhere else, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Moving right along here with the Locked On Vikings podcast. Here's something I'm working on right now on patreon.com/LukeBraunNFL, a video on Marcus Embo, who bewildered me in a very confusing way. I talked about him a little bit yesterday. I'm doing a video on that. And if you want to watch it, you can find it at patreon.com/LukeBraunNFL. There's a whole bunch of other draft breakdowns up there right now, as well as some breakdowns of some key free agents. But right now, picking at 80, boy, I don't know. I guess I'm just not quite as familiar with some of these names, so I probably shouldn't be like too judgmental. But it just doesn't feel great right now. The top names are like a couple of wide receivers, UCF running back, Damian Martinez, running back from Miami, and then like Marcus Embo is like the best like position of need fit right now. So it feels like this is not necessarily the place that I would want to end up. So maybe not this specific trade, but still, let's see what we can get. I'm going to grab Jared Wilson, the center out of Georgia. I love the Georgia center. This is going to be your kind of Ryan Kelly heir apparent that can kind of sit back and develop while Ryan Kelly does the thing for a year or two or however kind of long he can. And it doesn't feel like I missed out on a whole. I did miss out on DJ Giddens. I was going to take him, but like it's not terrible, right? It's not terrible what I'm missing out on because I'm only going down to pick number 97. If you want somebody on the inside that's like more of a designated pass rusher type, Deion Walker is very much like that. But I'm going to take Andrew Makuba. He's a safety out of Texas that's gotten quite a bit of hype. That hopefully can add a little bit of competition there with like a Theo Jackson, or maybe just develop behind those guys until Harrison Smith finally retires in about 2035 or whenever he's going to do it. I do want a quarterback, although I am just like deeply in love with Jamari Caldwell. So I'm just going to take Jamari Caldwell. We're at pick number 117. I think if you get him, I think you just run to it. So I'm not even going to think about it. I'm just going to do it. I just think he's more responsible than he gets credit for some of the successes that Derek Harmon enjoyed. And not that I don't like Derek Harmon. I do like Derek Harmon plenty. I just think that more of it should be credited to the big boy in the middle. I actually like Billy Bowman Jr. as a late round safety. He's available right now, sitting at pick number 139. This is the one that we actually had to begin with. The first pick in round 5 comes from Cleveland. This is still coming off the Zadarius Smith trade that we have. And hey, Quincy Riley is available. There's Tyler's guy. Let's do it. I don't think I've taken a corner at all. So now I at least got two guys in the secondary, but those are not the names that you feel come in and like immediately start pushing things. You know what I mean? So the only pick I have left is 187. That is the pick that we have now gotten back for during some of the trades like this offseason. This one comes in particular from San Francisco as part of the Jordan Mason trade. So this was a 5th rounder. Now it's a 6th rounder. So what does this guy become? There's always a part of me that wants to make this a quarterback, but I'm not going to do it. I am going to instead take Dylan Fairchild, the guard out of Georgia, who actually, I like this guard out of Georgia, except the problem is he just can't pull. So much so that they would actually switch the guards and like just fully tell where the pull was going to be and what the run play was going to be, because at least that guy could do it. So you got to, work on that. But I'm going to take him anyways. We're in the 6th round. That's the kind of blemish you put up with in the 6th round. Everybody's going to have a problem like that. So we put together a little bit of a mock there that, look, we had a false start, right? Where I think I just didn't quite take a trade deal that made this exercise fun. So I tried again. But I guess what I want to do is look at the list of people and assess how I feel. And maybe we'll even do a third one here if we really want to. But where I'm at, I got 2 guys off the Georgia O-line. I freaking love that. I got Jamari Caldwell. He's a pet favorite of mine. Donovan Jackson. I'm not as excited about him, but I don't hate it at all. He's just a little more of a boring pick. But at 45, I honestly I kind of feel like Donovan Jackson could go in the first and it wouldn't surprise me. So at 45, I'm pretty happy with that value. But the actual guys in this that are going to change the face of the Vikings are all either delayed or you kind of need to hope for a really top percentile outcome. Like Quincy Riley, you kind of need to hope that guy really shows up and is super pro ready. Now, I like Quincy Riley well enough. Getting him in the 5th, again, great value for me. I feel like I've done great for value here. Donovan Jackson in the 2nd, Jerry Wilson in the 3rd, Andrew Bakuba in the 3rd, Jamari Caldwell in the 4th. All these guys feel like I'm getting them way after I feel like I'm supposed to be able to, but nobody here is changing the fates of the Vikings to me. These are all a lot of role players, rotational guys, or just straight up projects like Dylan Fairchild. So it's okay. This might be a little bit too far for me. So let's chill it out a little bit. Let's go start a new mock draft. We'll do the same kind of idea, but let's not go all the way down to 35 this time. All right. Let's let this thing run out and see if we can get one that's maybe in the 30s instead of at all the way to 45. Moving right along here with the Locked On Vikings podcast. Okay, let's go down the list of all the guys that I just got. So I made a trade. I went to, I got a 2nd and a 3rd for my 1st round pick. So I basically just split my 1st round pick into 2, and those 2, Derek Harmon and Marcus Embo. Marcus Embo, total flyer, total, project type. Derek Harmon couldn't be more of the opposite. He is very much, ready out the box to be a contributing member of the D-line, get a little bit younger. It is absolutely not out of the question when you got 2 30-year-olds being the key free agents to grab another couple D linemen. Damian Martinez, Billy Bowman, and Tyler Shaw. I'm not super stoked on either of those 3 guys, but obviously that's the draft intact the way it was before. Really, what I am thinking about is what would I have done at 24 that was different than what I would have done at than what I did at pick 33. So who are the guys we traded past? Let's look at that in this simulator. So with Cleveland trading up with us, they took Tyler Booker. Colston Loveland went for pick 25. I get the question a lot in mailbags. It's what's the one draft thing you wouldn't want? And I think what's the nightmare? And for me, it's Colston Loveland. That is not even that realistic of a thing because taking a tight end in the 1st round when you have Hawkinson and Oliver under contract would be ridiculous for me. I know Oliver's at the last year of his contract, so maybe this would be tight end 2, but long-term tight end 2 is not a 1st round pick. And you'd have to think that you're improving upon TJ Hawkinson, or he's close enough to TJ Hawkinson that you could let Hawkinson walk and save all the money. And I just don't at all. Colston Loveland cannot block. And was also the culprit on a bunch of JJ McCarthy's problems in Michigan. Like, he just sold out JJ McCarthy a whole bunch. I know that was a year ago, and guys can grow a lot in a year, and I know he's like lauded as a really good receiver now, but I'm sorry, if you can't block, you in a first rounder. I hate the fact that he's getting first round buzz, and I think it's a mistake for whoever does it. Gray Zabel, we talked about him. I see him much more as a day 2 guy. He goes to LA here. Nick Scorton, edge from A&M. I like him a lot, actually, to the Ravens. Walter Nolan to the Lions. Nick Emenwari, that's a guy that we've talked about very much as an option for the Vikings. And that might be the one guy you're trading past that you feel the worst about. Because like with Tyler Booker and Gray Zabel and those guys, like there are other guard options that you can get in day 2 that still fill the need. They're not Tyler Booker, but they fill the need. And so you can feel like you got something out of there. But once Malachi Starks and Nick Emenwari are off the board, it feels like there's a big drop off to all the rest of the safeties. So trading past him might be the thing that you feel hurts you the most. So if you would have at 24 chosen Nick Emenwari over Derek Harmon, which I personally think I still would go with Harmon, but I definitely respect it as debatable. So if you wouldn't, go ahead. Then maybe you don't like this trade down. The other guys, Kelvin Banks, Josh Connerly Jr., and James Pierce, who I don't think should go in the first round. So yeah, I don't know. One guy that I still think I probably would have done either Tyler Booker or Derek Harmon there. So yeah, this works for me. Let's run it one more time and see if I can't do anything a little bit more aggressive than pick 33. Let's try to find that nice little happy medium between pick 33 and pick 45. Like, we get like high 30s, like 39 or something like that. But we need that. Oh yeah, there you go. 39. Chicago Bears. We're not going to make this trade, but we would never do this trade with the Bears, but we can of course try, right? Ooh, we can do 39 and 41 if we give up 97 and 24. Let's try to offer that. Okay, let's throw in like a round 5 next year to do it. And we did it. Okay, so we got 39 and 41. That feels way perfect where I'm at now. Okay, so at number 24, who was available? So Malachi Starks was on the board. Amarian Hampton, if you're going to take a running back, is the one I like, but I think the way we did the first round running back idea is probably out. I still think we should draft one, but not in the first. Derek Harmon goes, he was available. Gray Zabel goes, he was available. Darius Alexander, if you're into that. But I think the only one I'm really like bumming about is Malachi Starks and Derek Harmon. So I traded past 2 guys that I like. So who can I actually get? There's again Savon Revel. He keeps calling my name in these. Benjamin Morrison, Donovan Jackson, again, if you want to do that. Let's just snag Revel and move on to the next 2 picks. Obviously, Trey Amos, he's also, the corner from Mississippi is also an interesting idea. We could just go corner and just be like, okay, let's go. Interestingly, Emenwari was on the list there. I totally missed him. Otherwise, I would have done that. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. That's my bad. I totally would have just done that. Okay, so something to keep in mind. Let's look at who's on the interior D-line here for the pick at 41, and Shamar Turner is just screaming my name. CJ West is also an interesting one, but this would be a little bit high for him. So let's go for Shamar Turner, Savon Revel, and then we move on with the rest of our draft as normal. We gave up a 5th next year for this. So if that was Nick Emenwari instead and Savon Revel, God, I'd feel so good. So there's definitely a world where we can do that. Let's try it one more time. See if we can get a better. Let's do one where I don't immediately regret the picks that I made. How about? Let's try to run this back one more time. We'll do the Bears pick again if they give it to us. They didn't give it to us this time, but let's see if we can force the issue. Oh, there's a button on this where I can force the issue. Okay, cool. Trade accepted. We did it. Good luck. Okay. So let's see what happened here. Did Nick Emenwari go this time? Yeah, he did. Okay, he went. And I traded past him. I could have had him at 24, but I traded past him. But who didn't I trade past? It's all the same names. It's Trey Amos again. It's Savon Revel again. It's Donovan Jackson again. Yeah, it's all the same names pretty much down here, at least by this simulation. Of course, what actually happens in the draft could definitely be different. Interestingly, Derek Harmon fell to pick 34, but I'm at pick 39. So let's do Trey Amos this time. And then Caleb Johnson goes ahead of us. That's one I didn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. And then I can take Xavier Watts, a safety out of Notre Dame. So kind of the same idea. Took a corner, took a safety at 39 and 41. That feels better than just sticking and picking at 24 for me, for sure. So there's a happy medium here. I think I'm coming away thinking like high 30s. High 30s feels good to me. Okay, I'm up at 139. I'm going to finish this mock draft. Let's take Trevor Etienne. Why not? Pick 139. Party hardy. I don't know. I haven't watched him yet, but I know he's an Etienne. Sure. I'm name drafting at this point. Let's go. Can't stop me. Cody Lindenberg. Take a gopher. Why not? All right. The extremely serious process going on here at the Locked On Vikings podcast at the end of the fourth mock draft of the episode. But this is how I want to do these mock draft things, right? I want to kind of like play around with the machinations of the board. I think if you can put together a situation where you turn that first round pick into 2 day 2 picks, I think I like it. I think it feels better. I think like getting Trey Amos instead and Xavier Watts instead of sticking and picking Nick Emenwari, for example, to me, that feels so much better to me, right? And then, keeping your day 3 as is or trading down more on day 3, like whatever, right? Going down all the way to 45 felt like a little bit much, especially if all I'm getting is like picks next year. Like that was my least favorite thing of the whole day here. But of all of those moves, right? And whether you agree with the names that I picked or not, or like whatever, right? I was looking at the board. I wasn't showing it to you. You probably have other names that you would have rather picked, and that's great. But rather just the idea of splitting up that first round pick. If you could divide that thing in half and get 2 players that you feel okay about, like, are you into that? Let me know what you think of I think I did 4 mocks here. Let me know which one of these you like. Maybe you did like the going down to 45 and getting a whole bunch of draft picks next year, a little bit more. Or maybe you just hated it and you'd rather have done the one where we only went down to pick 33 and still kind of got Derek Harmon and just eked out a little bit of extra value. But this is the kind of moment for the Vikings where they have very few picks. They have very little need, I think, to like there's nobody that you're just like desperately sticking and picking, right? There's nobody. The first one where I had Kenneth Grant on the board, right? Like somebody crazy falls, but there's no world where like, man, it's just too risky to go to pick 30. Like, nah, it really never is. Because even the guys I felt bad about trading past, they went like 35th. So like, the stakes are very low, and the ability to eke extra trade value for this is really, really high. The biggest hurdle, the strongest problem is going to be actually finding a trade partner that wants to come up, because for all the same reasons, right? There's a million people that I would like here, tons of starters. Nobody really jumps out as like a clear fave. Then that means nobody's going to want to trade up. So I don't know if you're going to get somebody said in Town Hall Tuesday, and I think made a good point. Like, you might not get full value here, but you're just kind of trying to squeak a little bit of blood out of the stone. And I can support that as long as you don't trade past your faves. I will see you all tomorrow for 4-0 Friday. Maybe we'll talk more about this idea, although we already kind of got into it a little bit with the idea of like trading down and what you need from a trade down. But we'll figure something out, right? It'll be 4-0 Friday. I will talk to you then. And as always, it's cool.